Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about getting rid of pacifiers. Hey guys, so today we're talking about pacifiers and getting rid of them. Passies, noo-noos, wubba-nubs, plugs. I mean, there's a billion different names for these pacifier things. First of all, I'm just going to say I am not against pacifiers at all. I actually think that there's a time and a place for them where they can be really helpful, especially with really tiny babies. Babies have that natural sucking reflex, and so having something to constantly suck on is very soothing to them. That tendency, that need to suck, typically tends to fall away between 4 to 6 months old or so is when you're going to start seeing that they're not necessarily needing the pacifier as much. However, they'll be used to it. And because we as parents and care providers are so used to providing that passy and keeping that passy nearby, it's really easy for the pacifier to become a really long habit. The purpose of this video is to mostly discuss during the day. Maybe you're not necessarily wanting to completely remove the pacifier, but you want to use it less. And so this video is mostly designed for getting rid of pacifier like during the day. I have another video coming for pacifier, like total cut, like sleeping and like no more passy. But this video is more along the lines of no pacifier during the day. Typically speaking, if you're watching this video, you're probably thinking about cutting a pacifier. Most people think about it around the first birthday, maybe a little after. Some people are like, oh, my child's 2 or 3 and needs to cut a pacifier and I don't know what to do. It's totally fine. It's not that big a deal. I know that it can feel really overwhelming or maybe even embarrassing that your kid still has a pacifier. It's really not that big a deal. It's really not. Here are some of my tips and tricks on cutting the pacifier with very little drama and headaches. The first thing is when your child first wakes up, and they typically wake up with the passy or have the passy or need it near them, whatever happens in your routine where the pacifier kind of gets set to the side, I'll typically tell parents breakfast is a good time for this to happen. Just to kind of, oh, I'm going to put passy up here now. Don't make a big deal out of it. Just, let them know that their passy's going somewhere, but you don't necessarily need to make it this big over theatrical, passies are going, like, just say like, oh, it's time to eat lunch and I'll put this up here for later, and just kind of casually about it, because they're eating. They're not really going to be eating and having pacifier at the same time. So breakfast is a great part of your day to kind of remove the passy from them without necessarily starting a problem, without, you're not necessarily being like, oh, good morning, get out of your bed and take the pacifier away. You're kind of naturally letting your routine benefit what you want, which is to have the pacifier removed. And after breakfast, sometimes toddlers are really like, sometimes they know right away, like, hey, you put my passy up there or over there or whatever. Other kids will go right back into time to go play, time to go get dressed or watch a show, or whatever your routine looks like. So I encourage, when you're trying to break that passy habit during the day, that after breakfast you kind of swoop in quickly with an activity, something that's fun, so that they're not necessarily thinking right away, oh, I need my pacifier. You're kind of transitioning them away from that naturally, so that they're not thinking about it the same way. If they're not really going for the activity and they're just kind of like, well, no, I want my passy, or they're really upset and want the pacifier, I do try to engage them with, well, let's try this. That's why doing the activity is something, because it's a little bit different, or maybe, you play with them for a few minutes to help them transition away from passy. But if they're like not going to have it, and you just know that they're, it's going to be a huge on fight battle screaming, crying, chaos mess, go ahead, give it right back to them. And then the next time that it becomes a natural part to do so, maybe this is the next snack time or something like that. Maybe they are playing and they kind of set it aside or whatever, and I just kind of would discreetly just kind of set it up somewhere, and if they ask for it and start looking for it, then say like, oh, I just put it up for a little while because we're playing, or oh, I just put it up for a little while because whatever. I've had some kids who respond to that very like, oh, okay, whatever, and don't think about it. I've had other kids that are like, well, I want it back. So when a child is acting like they really want it back and aren't letting it go, go ahead, give it to them. And then again, like when it's a natural occurrence, snack times, they're playing, they're occupied, whatever. So that's situation one, keeping it out of sight, out of mind when applicable. The second approach that I use is that passies are for nap time, and I'll say, oh, well, passies stay in our bed. If you want your passy, go into your bed. I don't limit it to you can only have it at bedtime and nap time or whatever. If they really want their passy, then fine, they can have their passy, but they need to have their passy in their bed or their crib or wherever they are for that. Some kids may really be into laying in their bed or in their crib with their passy for a while, and some kids might be like, do that a handful of times and be like, meh, all right, I'd rather go play with my toys or go do whatever or something like that. However, I will add, if you know you're going to be out for the majority of the day, I do tell parents to like bring that passy with you just in case you need it, because if you need it, you need it. If you're doing the whole passy stays in the bed, totally cool, totally fine, but make sure you have one with you when you are outside of the home, because if you're in somewhere where you absolutely need it or they absolutely need it or it's just whatever, you have it available for you. So those are my tips and advice for kind of more on the older side of passies. It's really just about cutting the pacifier in a way that is natural without a huge event or fuss or things like that. So again, that's why you're going to do it in ways that are natural to your day, when they're eating, when they're playing, when they're distracted, to just set it aside, or to have it in a way that you can have your pacifier, but only within these parameters, only in the bed, only, if you want your pacifier, fine, but you need to stay in your bed. These kind of ways kind of help break that habit without necessarily like hacking the entire system apart. The other tip though that I'm gonna throw at you guys who have younger babies, or maybe you're under one and you're just determined that you're maybe you're that one who's like, oh no, they're not gonna have the pacifier after this age and I want to be extra aware of it or whatever. So if your baby under one here, this is an under one tip, if your baby is not fussy, don't give them the passy. A lot of parents have this tendency to oh, here, you dropped your passy, and put it like right back in their mouth all the time. And if they're being chill, if they're crawling around, playing around, sitting, and they're happy, and don't worry with the passy in their mouth. They are choosing not to put it in their mouth for a reason. They don't need it. Oh, here's your passy. You dropped your passy. Oh, you dropped your passy, and whatever. Just let it go. It's not that big a deal. So leave me a comment. Tell me how old was your child when they gave up a pacifier, or tell me if this is something that you're currently working on or not quite working on. Be sure to subscribe to us as well. We're on Instagram too. Link in the description there. You'll be able to see the link for our free parenting printable cheat sheets. So I really encourage you to check those out too. So thanks you guys, and I will see you in our next video. All right, bye.